Hi, ladies. Okay, so I was just live in my group. It just wasn't popping up for me. So, couple of things I wanted to go over with you from my doctor's appointment this past week. I swear I have been put on this planet to have everything wrong with my body so I can then share with you guys. And you guys know what to watch for. You guys know what to ask at the doctor, all of that kind of fun stuff. So I will kind of tell you what has been going on with me and then what they found. So lots of stuff happening. So I have been, let's see. I had Dory. She's going to be 8 in November. And when I was pregnant with her, when I went to deliver, I could not deliver her vaginally. After I had Braxton, they said absolutely no delivery vaginally for me ever again. So Luke was a C-section, Dory was a C-section. So Dory, I had gone in, they had checked my membranes and stuff, they wanted to see how far along I was. And I was at like a centimeter dilated. So the nurse stretched my membranes to 3 centimeters. And she was like, okay, so if this triggers you to have contractions, you need to go to the labor and delivery and tell them that you need to be delivered. And she's like, they will check you and they're going to see that it's a 3. You tell them when you came into the office you were a 1, and that'll get things going. I was like, okay. So I go about my day. I go to pick up the kids from school. I'm having contractions and I end up at labor and delivery. I call my doctor. He's like, you're having the baby tonight. I'm like, okay, great. So I go into labor and delivery. I'm contracting. And then they call him to tell him how to, whether or not he's going to come in to deliver me. And while they're on the phone with him, my contractions stop. So they come in and they're telling me they're going to send me home. And I said, no, he told me if I came in, they were delivering me tonight. So they go back, they get on the phone with him again, and my contractions started up again and went like off the charts. They were like, so they're like, okay, we saw that they started up again, so he's going to come in and deliver you. And they take me in to do the C-section, and he cuts me open, and then he tells this nurse, come over and look at this. He's like, do you see this? And I'm like, well, shit, what the hell's wrong with me, right? And he's like, look at this. And apparently I had what's called a uterine window. So a uterine window is where your uterus is, you have a part of your uterus that is so thin, they can literally see the baby through it. Like it becomes almost clear, like a window. And so they could just look through and see Dory through the uterus without cutting into me, okay? So he was pissed. He was like, they were trying to send her home, and if they would have sent me home, Dory and I could have died because the uterine window is very weak and the contractions are causing things to thin out. So the more, if I would have been home having contractions, laboring, that could have blown, and then that could have killed me and her. So that all happened during delivery, okay? Now, Dory was my last kid, so I knew I was 100% getting my tubes tied. Like, she was my last one. After they found that uterine window, they basically said, it's a good thing that this is your last one, because if you were to get pregnant again, this would be a very weak area of your uterus, and this could potentially happen again. And it would be very dangerous. So I was done. Like, I was like, no, tie my tubes, right? So they tied my tubes, cut my tubes, fried my tubes, like no baby's coming out of me, right? Well, after every pregnancy that I had, my periods got worse. Like, I never had bad periods. And after Dory, I think I was using like a pad and a tampon at the same time and changing multiple times a day. And so I go to my doctor and I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. Like, I went through childbirth multiple times. Like, this is not what I'm supposed to be left with. And she's like, well, we can do an ablation because your tubes are tied, you're done having kids, all that. So with a uterine ablation, I think I had the NovaSure one. And what they do is they open up your cervix and they shoot this thing in like a net, okay? And it like goes in and it touches all parts of your uterus inside. And then they basically send this jolt of, I don't know, heat. It's kind of like a microwave, and they like blast your uterus, okay? And what it's doing is it's frying off the whole inside lining of your uterus. And then you like, it's really gross, but like for the next few days, you have like gray tissue coming out. But then your periods are supposed to either be gone or super duper light. So mine now are like a day or two, and they're really light, but they never have ever gone completely away. So years later now, right? And I've always had a period since then. And my periods have been getting super duper duper painful, and like so painful. Like it's not just during that time of the month. It's actually the whole time I'm ovulating too. Everything is just in pain. If Eric and I do it, like I want to cry, like I'm in so much pain. So I'm like, nope, can't do it. Like, babe, it hurts. So that's why I went and found this other doctor. So I go to see her, and she's like, how many years has it been since your daughter was born? And I said, well, my daughter's now 8. I said, I didn't have the ablation until a year or two after I had her, so maybe 6 years. And she was like, well, there is something called post-uterine ablation syndrome, and it usually is happening to women once they're 5 to 8 years out. And what that means is basically your uterus, once they have zapped all of this tissue out, your uterus basically collapses upon itself. And if you had any areas that did not get fried when they did that, every month that area is going to bleed, and you're going to shed that, right? And then it's going to come out. Well, there can be pockets of areas then that bleed with nowhere to go. And so it just becomes really painful. So she's like, we're going to do an ultrasound on you, and we're going to see if you have any really bad pockets. I said, what's the treatment for this? And she said, the treatment is hysterectomy usually. And I said, well, I can't have a hysterectomy because I have all of my pelvic floor issues. And I know that if I have a hysterectomy, that removes an organ that is holding space in my pelvic floor. And if that's removed, then my other organs in that area can shift, and it can be very painful and cause a lot of pelvic floor pain. I already have pelvic floor pain. So I don't need that to be any worse than it already is, and I don't need a lifetime of it, right? Because for the most part with pelvic floor therapy, I can take care of that. So she said, okay, so your next option would be hormones. Damn it. Like, I had my tubes tied, so I don't need to be on any birth control. But that's like my only option now. So I have to start on the pill again. It's like the low estrogen, super low dose, as low as they can get. And basically she said that'll stop me from ovulating. And then that'll also, help prevent the lining from thickening. So it should help both times of the month for me. Now, when they did the ultrasound, they found 2 things. One is fibroids. I have never in my life ever had fibroids. Now, I know lots of friends that have uterine fibroids, and I had one who had them. They were like the size of grapefruit, and multiple ones in her uterus. She had to have surgery to have those removed so she could even attempt to get pregnant, and then literally like got pregnant, had the baby, and then that was it. They were like, you cannot have any more children, and her fibroids came right back. So what she told me, so mine, apparently I have 2, and they're both like 2 centimeters. So it's nothing big, nothing to worry about. They'll watch the growth over, year to year. And if I have any big issues, then, go in and get them checked. Well, she said, I had no idea. She said after age 40, uterine fibroids are very common. Who knew? I had no idea. So apparently, guys, that's a new thing that you guys get to watch for. So once you turn 40, If you're having weird pain or bleeding or anything like that, make sure you go in and you get checked and they can do an ultrasound and they can see that. Now, the second thing that they found, which she's like, I was not expecting to find this. So I told her when I had that ablation, what it's supposed to feel like afterwards is like bad cramps. And I have bad period cramps. I've had bad period cramps since I was 12. Like, that's why I got on the pill. Well, my mom forced me on the pill when I was 15, but that ended up helping like all of my cramps, which was great. So I was on the pill for years and years and years before I tried to have a baby because of my period cramps. So I expected bad cramps when I had this uterine ablation. I get home from having this ablation and I am like vomiting because the pain is so bad. And I call the doctor and the nurse talks to me and she's like, oh no, it's normal. It's just bad cramps. I'm like, no, you don't understand. It feels like she blew through my uterus. Like, and okay, so guys, I should tell you this too. I've had Crohn's since I was 12. I've had multiple surgeries. I live with chronic pain. So I have been told by multiple doctors that my pain threshold is off the charts. So when I feel pain, it's bad. Like, it's got to be something really bad. And so I was like doubled over in the bathroom. I was trying to take the pain meds. I think they'd given me like Oxy, and I couldn't keep them down because I was puking because I was in so much pain from this ablation. And I don't even know how to explain it. It literally felt like they had blown through part of my uterus, right? So I crawl into bed. I'm like crying. I crawl into bed. I pass out. Like, I passed out from the pain. So I tell this doctor that, and I'm like, I know now it's years later and they probably wouldn't have been able to, they wouldn't have seen, at this point, it's too late to know if that actually happened, like where it actually blew through. And so she does the ultrasound, and what she finds is, here's my C-section scar, and right above it, I have this thing, guys, I don't remember the name. If any of you work in OB and you know the name of it, she said it's a super weak spot of your uterus that is right above your C-section scar. And I said to her, I had a uterine window with my daughter when I was pregnant with her. Would that be from that? And she said, it definitely could be. She's like, but I wonder if you were right. I wonder if that area, that's that weak area that was so thin when they did the ablation on you, if it literally blew through. And so she was like, at this point, it's scar tissue now. But she's like, it's a definite possibility. So guys, I don't know what to tell you except know your body. Know how it should feel. If you're seeing anything weird or feeling anything weird, or sex has become painful when it's not supposed to be, or your periods have changed, or, you're pregnant and you just don't feel right, like, go in and get checked and question and ask. And if you don't like the doctor that you have, find a new doctor. And I just, for me, like, this has been years of stuff in the making. So I'm not kidding. I was put on this planet to have everything wrong with me so I could better educate all of you. Okay, that's all I've got for you is my fun story. So fibroids after age 40, very common. So make sure you're getting checked and that they do like an ultrasound. Second of all, if you do end up having a uterine ablation and you feel like something really bad happened when you had it instead of just cramps, get that checked out, and be very, especially when you're pregnant, be very vigilant to fight for what your doctor tells you. Like, my doctor told me if I came in that night, I was having the baby, and they tried to send me home, and look what would have happened. So my doctor's amazing. He fights for all of that stuff. He actually told me the reason why they try to send you home when you're not at 40 weeks, because I was at 36 weeks, I think, with her. He said the reason they try to send you home is because insurance tells them to. And he's like, this is what's wrong with America. So anyway, okay, there's your Tip Tuesday. All that information. Hopefully that helps. If you guys need a good doctor in St. Louis, I can give you mine. She's awesome. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.